Did you know that you don't have to trade your emotions for authority, that you can actually wear ambition on your sleeves and still be emotionally grounded? If you've ever felt this need to toughen up or to be taken seriously as a leader, like getting into your feelings, getting into your emotions, being human makes people question your competence, you are in the right place. In this video, I'm breaking down 7 powerful ways that you can use emotional intelligence to grow in leadership without shrinking or turning into something that or someone that you are not. Welcome back to my channel, and if we are meeting for the very first time, my name is Nancy. I'm a former airline professional turned entrepreneur. I've written a few books and I'm also a workplace leadership trainer. So you'll mostly find me here discussing topics on matters of leadership, professional growth, career advancement, all the while protecting your mental and emotional well-being. So if this is the kind of content that speaks your language, kindly consider subscribing, press that notification bell, and you'll get an alert whenever I release a new video. I'm so happy to have you as part of this growing leadership community. And if you're big on setting and exceeding career goals, owning those boardrooms, smiling beyond your paycheck, you're going to agree with me that success in leadership goes beyond checking very specific boxes or even hacking various strategies, being the most revered person in the room. It has a lot more to do with how you show up, how you manage your emotions, how you handle yourself and the people that you work with, how you keep your mental and emotional sanity intact, especially in high stress environments. And the plan here is to grow through leadership and not just survive it. And I believe that emotional intelligence is your greatest leadership asset when it comes to elevating your leadership presence the right way. So let's just discuss how. Starting with number 7. You want to embrace sitting with the messy, normalize discomfort. And you've probably heard people say that growth lives on the other side of discomfort. The challenge is not in getting that promotion. It's more in the realization that not everything is going to be clean, clear, and comfortable the moment you assume your leadership role. It will not always be calm and graceful, a world of perfectly worded emails. There will be moments of awkward tension. There will be moments of uncertainty, like leaving a meeting where someone literally threw you under the bus and your immediate instinct was to get a quick antidote just to numb the sting that you feel. Or being in a decision-making meeting and all eyes are on you for answers, but you're blank and the pressure to perform your way out of this awkwardness is real. Or maybe you receive feedback from a team member that clearly touched a nerve, maybe bruised your ego a little bit. These are the moments when emotional intelligence is going to call on you to sit with the messy. Instead of getting all defensive, spiraling into overthinking of why would someone intentionally just put you on the spot negatively, you let that sting and the pain exist. You breathe through it, without rushing to make it go away. Instead of faking confidence and giving half-baked answers in those meetings, you just sit in that awkward silence and give yourself time to think through your answers, regardless of the eyeballs on you. Instead of giving your ego a microphone or even resorting to witch hunt, you ask yourself, why did that feedback hit me so hard? And then you let new insight rise from that discomfort. Sitting with the messy doesn't feel strong in the moment. It feels uncertain. It feels uncomfortable. It feels human. That moment when you choose to not run, react, or pretend, but to just stay present. That is you practicing emotional intelligence in its rawest form. And here you'll gradually be learning that not everything needs an instant reaction. That moment when a colleague undermines you in a meeting, or even your idea gets picked apart and you feel the urge to fix it immediately, but instead you let things settle before responding. You find that you're actually building emotional muscle to sit through discomfort without rushing to smooth things over. And now you're no longer controlled by the need to escape tension. You'll also find that you subconsciously start making room for real conversations, not just the convenient ones, because the need to sugarcoat the truth in the name of keeping the peace, when giving or receiving feedback, all this will have been diluted through emotional intelligence. When your team sees that you can actually handle the hard stuff without shutting down or even flipping out, you're sending a very powerful message that you're steady, you're real, and you lead with the heart and strength. At number 6, consider curiosity over defensiveness. This closely ties with number 7. Just think of the moments where your chest has tightened after you tabled an idea, only to see people respectfully rolling their eyes or openly expressing their doubts, and your first instinct was to defend, explain, protect your ideas. The moments where you've been openly challenged and your brain just went into overdrive or shut down, like, nope, not hearing that right now. Why? Because to you, it feels like a personal attack, and you're internally questioning yourself. You're asking, do they have a problem with me, or is my contribution the problem? Will these ideas be more acceptable if person X or Y put them across? Defensiveness is going to build walls. Curiosity is going to build bridges because it keeps you in the learning mode. And when you respond to disagreements or criticisms with openness, it signals to your teams and your colleagues that it is safe to speak with me. And you're showing maturity, and others can see that you just don't want to be right. You're more interested in growing together. So the next time you feel misunderstood in a meeting, resist the urge to respond immediately. Just think smart over speedy reaction. Take a breath. Ask yourself, why am I resisting this situation? Better still, ask the parties involved, what makes you feel that way? Tell me more about what you're seeing, because in all honesty, you could be missing something. And these questions are going to move you from defending your reputation at every turn and even help you understand the dynamics that you didn't notice earlier. So you want to catch these micro and mini reactions in real time so you can understand why you check into defensiveness and how you can mitigate it. And in leadership, there's always that pressure to know everything. There's always that pressure to always have the right answers. But emotional intelligence is going to make space for questions on your part, not just answers. Because now you are brave enough to say, I don't know, but I want to understand what's really going on. You give yourself permission to be a student to what every experience would teach you. And these are the moments where you stop seeing leadership as a performance and it becomes an ongoing practice that is rooted in emotional depth. You tell yourself, what can I learn from this challenge? What's the opportunity in this failure to address other people's concerns? And also, when you take the curiosity route, you're subconsciously accepting to ask yourself the hard questions. Where am I missing the mark in this equation? Or what is it that is not being said in the room, and what exactly is going on under the surface? Whether it's a missed deadline, low energy within the team, unexpected tension that has just gone on for far too long, and you ask yourself, what am I going to do with the truth once I find out? And in this way, emotional regulation is actually going to turn discomfort into discovery. And because you'll have the courage and the calm to go down the rabbit hole looking for the right answers. And that's where growth is going to happen, because now you're no longer asking just what someone did. You're also attempting to get to the root of it, to the understanding of why they did it. And you're moving from judgment to connection. At number 5, instead of managing stress, you want to model emotional balance. Managing stress is about surviving the day. Modeling emotional balance is about operating in what defines your kind of normal. For example, you'll hear this word, protecting your peace being used, especially when setting boundaries. But what does it mean specifically to you, on a personal level, considering that you're operating in a world where performance is a non-negotiable and emotional depletion is a real risk? You could be taking those spa days. Yes, you could be turning your phone off during an official working hours. Yes, you could be lighting a scented candle after work. Yes, but your body is still yearning for more. And these are the moments where you're going to need to take radical responsibility for your emotional energy and the environments where you allow yourself to stay in, especially when the pressure is over the roof. You want to get to know the kind of pressure that grows you and the kind of pressure that breaks you, and be okay to walk away from the latter. I'm talking about not overcommitting to prove your worth to the entire organization at your sanity's expense, but only saying yes to that which aligns intrinsically with your values and priorities. I'm talking about choosing to not carry other people's chaos as your own to the point of self-sacrifice, but showing empathy without being a sponge. challenge. You want to treat empathy as a strength and not necessarily a soft spot. I'm talking about building an inner calm that does not depend on outer circumstances, no matter how chaotic the situation gets. And if ambition costs you your health, your joy, your sense of self, then what's the point? So the next time you find yourself making space for rest, but you are secretly answering emails at midnight, or you're skipping lunch to catch up with work, or even saying yes to everything, but in reality you're overstretched, try practicing what you preach. Be clear about your boundaries, not because you're less committed, but because you know that burnout is not a strength, it's a red flag. Something to the tune of, I will not be joining you at 7:30 p.m. for that meeting because I unplug at 6 p.m. And also bear in mind that your team always looks to you and at you. So if you're constantly overwhelmed, if you're constantly frustrated, emotionally checked out, that energy is going to spread out, and it's going to spread fast. No matter how high the pressure mounts, how hot that building gets, they need to know that you can fight the fire while staying calm, cool, collected, and acknowledge that, well, there could be a storm, but you're not going to let the ship sink. And the more conscious you are about building emotional balance, the safer your teams, the safer your colleagues are going to feel around you. And this is what is going to create a ripple effect, because people are going to start performing better. The trust levels are going to increase, and good workplace culture is actually going to become a verb, because people stop seeing leadership as that race towards exhaustion. At number 4, you want to know your triggers. I read somewhere that triggers are often tied to core values, past experiences, unmet expectations, and they can show up in subtle or even very intense ways under pressure. And we all have them. So maybe it's being interrupted or talked over in meetings that just gets you frustrated because you feel like you're being disrespected, or others don't just see your value. Maybe it's seeing someone else get or take credit for your work, and the resentment camouflaged in distrust just builds up because in your mind, all your effort is invisible unless you fight for it. For some, it could be that feeling of being micromanaged in your role, somewhat like Big Brother is watching, just for you to make a single mistake leading your teams. And in your mind, frustration builds up that can even lead to withdrawal because you keep wondering why they cannot just let you lead. Is it that they consider you incompetent? Still, your trigger factor could be a case of not being taken seriously in very strategic discussions, which leads to anger mixed with sadness because you have the impression that your voice doesn't carry the same weight in some of these rooms. So the goal here is not to eliminate the triggers, but to understand and manage them so that they don't hijack your leadership role. So the next time you find yourself in some of these situations and you feel that urgent need to get an air sickness bag with your mind racing, your chest tightening, you're even tempted to pull away, ask yourself, what just got activated in me? Is this a pattern that I've seen before? How did I go about it to feel better the last time? What do I actually need to do right now? And the moment you have your triggers dialed down, you can consciously start making intentional choices instead of emotionally reactive ones. For one, you're going to stop personalizing everything and start leading from a more centered angle. And when you're unaware of your triggers, everything feels personal. An unwelcome comment just feels like an attack. A delay in response feels like a rejection. But when you understand your triggers, other people's behavior will not play a major role in determining your emotional state. In your mind, it's not about you, which means that you can now lead with maturity anchored in your values, and you don't have to be swayed by every emotional wave around you. And there's such a thing as emotional self-leadership. When you know what sets you off, be it being dismissed, be it being micromanaged or any of the triggers that we've just mentioned, you can catch yourself before you spiral out of control. So instead of snapping at others, shutting down or even over-explaining yourself, you can choose to control the narrative. Show up as emotionally steady and well in control of your impact. And that's what is going to build leadership credibility. At number 3, you want to tune into other people's emotions. And here is where our understanding of nonverbal cues, nonverbal communication comes into play. Just think of the moments where you've been in a room and a colleague kept saying, they were okay, they were fine, but everything about their demeanor gave a different vibe. Reading a room is an emotional intelligence superpower. Why? People don't always say what they feel, but they act on what they feel. Someone might shut down or completely go blank after being interrupted, or they may miss deadlines because there's so much on their plate, both personal and professional, or even push back and resist feedback because they feel embarrassed, not because they're lazy or uncommitted. Emotions drive behavior, even in high performing teams. And your role here is to lead the whole person, not just their performance. So when you take a moment to look beneath the surface, to go beyond their actions, and you tell yourself, this team member is always a top contributor in meetings, but lately they seem withdrawn. Is it that they're really disengaged, or could they be experiencing anxiety that is stemming from something deeper? Or here is a great worker, but she started missing deadlines one too many times. Is it really a case of time management, or could burnout be knocking at their door? And how can I be of help? And here you're tuned into what's actually going on emotionally, and instead of looking at them as problems worth fixing, you'll actually check in on your team members, not to correct them, but to connect with them and get to the bottom of the problem. So you're basically opening a window where your people can actually trust you with their truth. And also you want to bear in mind that unspoken emotions still impact results. Whether someone is anxious, frustrated, disengaged, or just mentally checked out, it's going to come out in the wash, as my friend says. It has a way of showing up. And the tone is always the first red flag. That rushed, clipped voice, constant over explaining, second guessing themselves in real time, like, sorry, maybe that didn't make sense. Let me just repeat it. Let me rephrase. Or even passive-aggressive comments, abrupt replies that just sound irritated, even when the words are polite, like, whatever works, it's your call. The energy may also be another red flag. That vibe that you bring to a room or to a Zoom. Like when you find someone jittery, fidgeting, apologizing too much, avoiding eye contact, using fast and coordinated movements, slumped posture, multitasking during conversations. With high emotional intelligence, you can sense this shift and address it before emotions explode and derail the work. And I'm by no means inviting you to be everyone's therapist. Your team members can go all in with you when they feel that they are seen and supported and not necessarily managed. And the best place to start is to check in on them privately. Hi, I noticed something a bit off today. How are you doing? Really? At number 2, know when to ask for help. Most people struggle in this area, and the struggle to ask for help is not so much about the ego as it is about expectations, pressure, the fear of seeming anything less than capable. And that is, I'm assuming you got into leadership the right way. So asking for help from a mentor, therapist, colleague, coach, it all makes you human. So if you've internalized the belief that strong is synonymous with solo, this point is specifically for you. And many people, myself included, grew up believing that to be taken seriously, you have to handle everything on your own. So even when you're drowning in deadlines, when your mind is overstretched and you're literally running on fumes, you'll still push through because somewhere deep down, you feel that if you need help, if you ask for help, you must be sleeping. And personally, I'm still in that unlearning phase. And the truth, your strength lies in knowing when to delegate, when to collaborate, when to press pause. And let's also not overlook the fear of being seen as incompetent or unprepared. That moment when leadership feels like a stage and asking for help just feels like stepping out of character. This is especially prevalent when you're working in those supercharged, highly competitive environments where you have the pressure to be the one who knows, to be the one who delivers, to be the one who leads without needing a lifeline. Emotional intelligence is going to help you shift from "I should already know this" to "I'm still learning." And that's exactly how I'm going to grow in this field. And the antidote here is to normalize seeking help out loud. Say it in meetings, say it in front of your team members. I'm maxed out and could really use a hand. Who has capacity? Here, you're modeling vulnerability with confidence, and you're leading by example, and subconsciously, you're giving your team members permission to exercise asking for help without shame. Emotional intelligence is going to help you know your limits, honor those limits without shame, and you're leading from a place of truth without losing your strength. And the more comfortable you are in wearing your vulnerability on your sleeve, the happier you're going to be to realize that people don't necessarily connect with perfect, they connect with real. And Personally, I call it emotional honesty. At number 1, build self-awareness through feedback. Sometimes we think that we are showing up one way, but the people around us, our team members, our colleagues, they feel something different. And you're here in execution mode with your head down, laser focused, getting things done, believing that you're being efficient and productive. But to your team members, they just see you as cold, disconnected boss who doesn't even have time for them. Or you're here trying to be clear, no fluff, no sugarcoating, and in your mind, that's you being decisive and honest. But to your team members, you come across as being dismissive or too blunt. And unless you're open to hearing how others feel about your presence, you might be missing major learning points. And emotional intelligence is going to hold up a mirror between who you think you are and how others experience you. And the moment someone says, they feel like you're distant, and you find yourself being honest, like, I'm deep in this project, but I want to hear your take on this. Or when a team member says, that statement was too direct, or it almost came across as hurtful, and you go out of your way to add emotional context to your directedness, something like, I know a lot of effort went into this, and I think we can push it further to meet our goal. You are gaining insight, valuable data for growth from their feedback that you could otherwise not access alone. So you see how your leadership is landing and where your presence is felt and where you're falling short. And that way you can be more emotionally accurate. I hope you got value from this video. These are not just leadership hacks. These are life skills that are going to support you in every single room that you walk into. Please let me know in the comments anything that stood out to you so strongly, and also give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't joined this community yet. Share it with someone who you believe will benefit from the content also. And if you have a moment, please take a look at this video right here on how emotional intelligence enhances your influence as a leader. It goes hand in hand with this video, and it's going to help put certain aspects into perspective. Thank you so much for your company, and see you on the next one. Bye.